Now, as you can tell from the title of this video, we're going to be doing every Shizen ranked from worst to best. Now, of course, as you guys probably know, the new Ashura Shizen KG actually dropped into the game and actually is a really cool KG. So I decided to do a new KG Shizen ranked video since the last time I made one was over a year ago. So if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to start right to the video, guys. Alright, guys, so coming in 6th place is going to be the original Wood Common EKG. Now, this EKG honestly doesn't work half the time. The moves don't really work properly half the time. Like, it will just completely miss them. And in general, it's just really not a great KG. For a while there, you know, back in the old, you know, metas of Shindo Life, it was an okay KG because it had an auto track stun that was pretty good at auto tracking and almost always hit. But for some reason, over the span of time that it's been up, the auto tracking has gotten a lot worse to the point where it doesn't even hit half the time. I feel like even like aiming slightly, like you could see that it did not hit him at all. It just completely just didn't connect with him. And so that's the main issue with the Wood EKG, which is why it's going to be last, even under, you know, what I consider to be one of the worst rare KGs in the game. All right, so coming in 5th place is going to be Giovanni Shizen, one of the only bloodlines in the game that managed to get nerfed even while being trashed. If you guys are unaware, the M1s were severely reduced, and now the M1s do like no damage, and the C-Spec was nerfed as well, so the C-Spec also does a low amount of damage compared to what it used to do. Now, I just want to put this out there. This bloodline was already pretty bad. Like, it was a pretty garbage bloodline, and then it was just nerfed even past being garbage. So Giovanni Shizen is quite literally one of the worst god bloodlines in the game at the moment. The only thing carrying Giovanni Shizen right now is going to be the second ability. The third ability is a stun that you could dash with. The third ability is all right, but there's just better stuns that don't bring you to the other person. And the second ability is a near instant stun ability that actually does quite a bit of damage for what it does, but it does have a tiny gap in it, so it's going to be like a chance thing for it to actually work or not. Now, in the end of things, Giovanni Shizen is obviously better than Nature or Wood. They changed the name back to Wood. It was Nature for a while, hence why it's going to be above Wood. But I would borderline say that it's very close to being worse than Wood. If Wood's auto tracking stun worked better, it would literally be better than Wood. Now, the cool thing about Giovanni is it's a pretty unique bloodline, but it's just really not that good. So, you know, it is a travesty that it got absolutely butchered. Now, coming to 4th place is going to be the OG Shizen, not Raiken Shizen. It's going to be the OG Shizen coming in 4th place. Now, overall, I actually think Shizen is an alright bloodline. I mean, it's not really, you know, the best in the world, but it's definitely not even close to being the worst in the world either. It's just kind of one of those things that, you know, it's just in the game. I mean, it has a huge damage burst. There's a better version of the actual KG, so people don't really use Shizen that much. They would rather use Raiken Shizen, obviously, because Raiken Shizen just does more damage. But Shizen in general is a very okay bloodline. I mean, like, there's not really much to say about Shizen. I mean, it has a nice stun. It has an okay auto tracking ability. Even though the auto tracking ability is only auto dodge global cooldown, it does have the third mode, as you guys can see, which is an alright mode in general. I wouldn't say it's the best thing in the world. People generally stick to the second mode. But I mean, like, Shizen is just one of those bloodlines that people just see in the game. They're like, oh, that's cool. And then they just never use it. Simply because there's just a much better version of the actual bloodline. Coming in 3rd place is going to be Raiken Shizen for the exact same reason as Shizen. It's just generally going to be a pretty okay bloodline overall. It has an okay auto tracking stuns ability. It's not that great because it is on the auto dodge cooldown. And in general, I honestly think that Shizen's abilities are honestly, the first and second ability of Shizen is better than Raiken Shizen, but Raiken Shizen's second mode just does so much more damage. Here, look, I'll show you. 1 second. I will Raiken Blade into the C-Spec of this, and you guys will see that this one just does so much more damage than normal Shizen mode. It does over 100,000 more damage, which is the reason why Raiken Shizen is going to rank higher. But Shizen's first and second ability are actually better than Raiken Shizen, so that's something that, you know, keep in mind. Even though the abilities are very similar, Shizen's first and second ability is better. And then obviously the third ability of Raiken is better because it's just the exact same as Shizen, but it does more damage. The coming in 2nd place is going to be Alfurama Shizen. Now, Alfurama Shizen, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's one of those bloodlines that a lot of people, you know, people like to not, you know, mention how good the actual bloodline is because they don't really want it to get nerfed because they are the people that use it. But Alfurama Shizen is a really good bloodline. Generally, a lot of the kits you'll see in RPG PvP will include Alfurama Shizen third ability because, of course, it is an auto tracking ability. It will, you know, allow you to charge your chi and stuff like that. Basically just a free ability in general, and it's also pretty good in team fights since it can hit multiple people. Now, the first ability is an okay place lock stun. I wouldn't say it's the best in the world. It does a decent amount of damage, a decent stun time. It's just, you know, it's a stun. It's kind of just a very basic auto tracking place lock stun. And the second move is going to be a gigantic AoE attack that actually does ragdoll. It's pretty good for team fights in general. I would say Alfurama Shizen is one of the best bloodlines in the entire game for team fights specifically, but unfortunately the mode mode does drain quite a bit. They actually reduced the mode drain a bit, so it doesn't drain nearly as much as it did before, but it still drains quite a bit. So Alpha Shizen is definitely going to be one of those bloodlines that I think it should stick to you only using the moves until the mode. I think the mode should get nerfed a little bit, but the mode drain should be majorly reduced, like to maybe to like 45 or 50. I think that would make a lot more sense with the actual KG in the game, because at the moment nobody uses this mode, and I think it's a travesty because it definitely is a very, very cool mode. But yeah, like I was saying, Alpha Shizen's abilities are honestly pretty good. The third ability is a very, very solid ability. The third ability is an S tier ability, and the rest of the abilities are A tier. So it's just generally a really good bloodline. But other guys, what is your favorite Shizen in Shizen Life? From the comments below, we'll be checking them out. Now, coming in first place as the best Shizen in the game, probably to the absolute surprise of literally nobody, is going to be Ashura Shizen. So this KG, guys, let me tell you, is honestly a very cool bloodline. I have to unequip Riken Blade, even though it actually fits very well with this Shizen video. Ashura Shizen, guys, is like on par with Indra, if not a little bit better. Even, you know, I actually think it's actually better than Indra a little bit, because the abilities, you know, has some of the abilities that are actually better than the other one. All right, so let's talk about Ashura Shizen now. First ability of Ashura Shizen is an auto tracking ability where you don't even have to be aiming at the person for it to hit them. It's an alright damage ability. It does 70,000 in mode. It is an okay combo extending ability. I would recommend, you know, probably using other combo extends, but it's definitely not a bad ability. It's an alright ability. I mean, combo extending, you know, 70,000 in mode damage ability. I mean, it's alright. I'll be talking about the second move last because it is actually the best move of it. The third move of Ashura Shizen has an absolutely massive AoE attached to it. It's kind of like, if you guys know Naramaki 6 Pass second ability, old AoE size, it's kind of very similar to that. It's huge. It is huge. Like, it is bigger than like it's bigger than my forehead, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ability's AoE is absolutely massive. Like, I won't even be aiming at him, right? He's gonna be standing right there, and I'm gonna aim to the side of him. Look. It's like, I don't even hit him, and it hits him. So it's an alright ability. I think, you know, the AoE size can definitely assist in a lot of different combos, because sometimes in combos, it's very hard to hit the other person. So these huge AoE abilities that auto-track onto them, the kind of like this ability, is alright in general. I mean, like, you will find some combos to throw it into. Now, the second ability is a guard-breaking auto-tracking stun. It actually has quite a long stun for being a guard break. It also drains a lot of chi afterwards. It's honestly just a really good ability in general. The cooldown also isn't absorbingly long. It's like 22 second cooldown. So I do think Ashura Shizen's abilities are honestly pretty okay in general. I mean, they definitely... Ashura Shizen, I've said this in the showcase, and I will say it again. Ashura Shizen is one of the best overall movesets currently in the game. It just melds really well together. I mean, all the abilities can combo with one another. It's just a really fun KG to use in general. I definitely think that it is probably one of the best KGs that they've released. Not in terms of skill, but in terms of fun. I mean, like, look at this. Like, who doesn't want to use this? It's just... It's very fun. It reminds me of Naramaki 6 Pass on release. It was just a really fun KG to use in general. This is very similar. It's just very, very fun. And the second ability is honestly pretty good in general. As long as they don't counter it, it's honestly just a really great ability. Now, onto the mode of Ashura Shizen, which is probably actually the best part of Ashura Shizen. First of all, you do get a raised block mode while also not draining that much mode. So as you can see, I'm way above him now. There's no way for him to actually hit me at the moment, which is actually pretty nice. And it doesn't drain that much mode, so it's very similar to Indra in that actual regard. Now, the throwable of Ashura, much like Indra, is going to be pretty much one of the abilities as a counter, but this counter is actually significantly better than Indra. The only difference is that the cooldown is actually much, much lower for Indra, but this one is a place lock stun counter, which, as you guys might know from Sand, third ability, is a really, really strong thing to have in the game. A place lock counter is absolutely amazing. It also drains a bit of chi from them, which can actually be used for funny trolling moments. So I definitely think that Ashura Shizen is just a very solid KG in general. I definitely think it's very deserving of first place, just because of those things. And that's not even regarding the absolutely high damage C-spec when you're actually super close to them. It's kind of like similar to Riken Shizen C-spec. Huge damage C-spec. And then, you know, obviously has the extremely cool weapon spec to the actual Bloodline. Now, the only issue with the weapon spec, in my opinion, is the fact it drains so much mode. Rogue Games has said they are going to be fixing that. And the M1s do more damage by the more M mode you have. So that's something, you know, mentioned in the game. And the throwable of Ashura Shizen is literally just Alpha Shizen's second ability. So overall, I think this KG is very, very solid. It's definitely very fun, and I definitely think you guys should check it out if you can. The only issue is that it is extremely rare, so there's a big chance you guys might not get it, unfortunately. Anyways, guys, for this video, if you enjoyed this video, let's start, guys. Bye-bye.